everyone, today's video is all about some Daniel Smith dupes. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Irit and I do watercolor videos, art journaling, mixed media, etc. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, leave me a comment, subscribe, ring the bell, all those things. And before we get into all the details, I just wanted to let you know that I have a free online course. The link is below. It's totally free and it's all live now. So registration started last week, but now all the content is available. You can sign up for free and, you know, enjoy the course. It's kind of my gift to you for being here, and it's a really fun course. It's called Create a Mini Rainbow Sketchbook, and in the course we make a cute little sketchbook and then we sketch in it a little bit. So super fun, super simple and easy. I hope I'll see you there. Let's get into the video. So today's video is a few dupes for some of my favorite Daniel Smith colors that I would say are a little bit more unique. I don't think it's a big challenge or mystery to dupe like ultramarine blue. Every watercolor brand has it. Most of them are good. The point here is to show you that there are some cheaper options. I think this video will be particularly helpful to those of you in Europe like I am. I'm in Austria and Daniel Smith is not available to me locally. I can't just go to the shop and pick up a tube. I order my watercolors from Jackson's mostly, which ship worldwide, but they are based, I mostly get my stuff either from the UK or from Sweden, but I know they also have like warehouses in the US and they deliver everywhere. And I've received a lot of comments from people that live in the US and still order from Jackson's because they get great prices. So that really makes me happy. They are a fantastic store. I also receive the very rare comment of someone who had a bad experience, and while I am truly sorry for anyone that has any sort of bad experience with a shop, I think that probably every single shop on the planet has some mess ups and some unsatisfied customers. I have ordered many times from Jackson's, and I know people who ordered many times, never had an issue, and no one I know has ever had an issue. So, you know, I feel as comfortable as I can be recommending that shop to you. You know, take everything with a grain of salt and make your own decisions, but I can only say good things about them, about their range, prices, shipping, and all those things. I have a local shop in Vienna, more local to me obviously than Jackson's, that have a very similar range, but the prices are always more expensive and there's never free shipping. So I hardly ever order for them. Having said that, I did just order from them because I was impatient, and I don't even think they had this on Jackson. Okay, sorry about this tangent. I'll put a timestamp for the actual dupe thing. But I picked up this empty palette from White Nights. Thank you to a viewer that told me about these. And I hope to put in it all my favorite White Nights and Aquarius watercolors. It should house a lot of them, which I'm really happy. And it's very compact for a palette this size. So I think I will enjoy setting it up. If you want to see what I put in it, then leave me a comment and I'll be happy to do a video about it. Okay, so going back to the topic, which is Daniel Smith dupes. This is by no way me like shading Daniel Smith or anything. I love Daniel Smith. I think their color range is probably unparalleled, and they are also vegan, which is important to me personally. However, they are really expensive in Europe and sometimes hard to get. You know, sometimes you just want to go to the art store and pick up a few paints and not order online and wait for days and weeks for things to come. I admit I'm guilty of that too. So I try to find good, more affordable replacements when I can. And for most of the colors in the Daniel Smith range, it's not really a problem. In this video, I will show you a few of my favorite Daniel Smith, more unique, in my opinion, colors and some good dupes for them. Again, some of these dupes are much easier and cheaper to get in Europe, and so this is why I think this will be more helpful to European peeps. But yeah, some of them can also be bought internationally. So check your local stores. I know the prices varies. I'll show you also the prices that I got for the colors that I'm duping. There's a huge difference between how much they cost in Europe and how much they cost in the US. So make your own considerations. These things change all the time. And yeah, I'm gonna start each color with kind of blocking which one is the real thing and which one is the dupe. And I want to know, leave me in the comments a comment, tell me if you could tell the difference. I can't get into how they all behave and all the different techniques and all the different mixtures. That would take me forever, and honestly I'm not that particular. If I like a color and I use it a lot, and all the colors that I'm going to show you here are colors that I like and use a lot, I kind of, you know, I don't really get into the nitty-gritty of like techniques and the differences, like if this is a little slightly more granulating, or this makes a slightly more muted green with this and this yellow. It's just not my thing. I don't have the patience for it, and I kind of can give you a more general impression and my own opinion. So take that also under consideration. That's enough talking. Let's get to the duping. Before we start, I just want to make a clarification. I will not say or guarantee that the kind of dupes I'm showing you have the same formula, or that they behave in exactly the same way, or that they have exactly the same pigments. Some do, some are very similar, and some are a little bit different. So please take that under consideration. I don't want anyone to be confused or disappointed or anything. These are just colors that, in my opinion, are a really good, more affordable option, again, depending on where you are in the world. And also, a thing worth mentioning is that Daniel Smith, with the exception of their new half pan sets, and I know that they have more coming, their paints only come in 15 milliliter tubes for their entire range, and then 5 milliliter tubes for some of their range. And then other brands also offer half pans and full pans in open stock, and sometimes the pans are much easier to find than the tubes. So you should also calculate things per milliliter. A full pan is somewhere between 6 and 7 milliliters, and then a half pan will be somewhere around half of that. Also remember that in a pan, sometimes the amount of paint really shrinks down. So when you take a tube paint and you put it into a pan, most of the times it will shrink down, because there is some sort of some water to the tube paint. With certain paints that's a dramatic change, with others not so much. And with many brands, like the top brands that sell pans, you know, for example Schminke, I think they do 3 pours into their pans. So I would risk saying that a milliliter of paint in a pan is not necessarily exactly equal to a milliliter of tube paint, but that's a whole other discussion. Keep that under consideration. Also, if you don't use a ton of watercolors, or if there's a particular color you want to try but you don't want to spend like $20 on a tube, buying a small half pan or full pan, even though it might be less economical, will still cost you less, you know, at the point of just spending that amount of money, and it will still last you a long time, unless you really use a ton of watercolors, and in that case, yeah, tubes are the more economical way. Okay, let's get started. I just wanted to make that clear. I don't want anyone, you know, making any kind of purchases and then being surprised or disappointed because I failed to mention this. So, I'm sure some of you already guessed, this is Moonglow. And I think I have a really good dupe for that. So, which one here is the real thing? Let's take a look. This is the Daniel Smith Moonglow. Again, another disclaimer, because I know some people are very, very, very particular with certain things. I tried to do the application as similarly as I could. That's why I made kind of a large square here. You can see that this one I applied a bit heavily in certain areas. The goal here is to give you a good idea of how the paint looks. And yes, this was applied a little bit more heavily, but you can still see that the Daniel Smith is an intense color. I don't want to imply that the Aquarius version is more intense. So Aquarius is a Polish brand. They are now available at Jackson's only in full pans. This one, I am not even going to try and attempt to pronounce this, is their pea gray, let's call it pea gray. And it costs a little bit more than $6 for the full pan, which is around 6 or 7 milliliters. And then Moonglow, again, to just show you the differences, in Dick Blick's, which is an art supplies shop in the US, the 15 milliliter tube costs $12.82, $83 at the point of filming this video. And at Jackson's, which is based in Europe, it's $17. So I think now probably the Americans amongst you understand why for us in Europe, yeah, we need cheaper alternatives because we can't afford to buy everything Daniel Smith. I know also in the States it's not a cheap brand and there are a lot of really great alternatives, but those brands are just not available to me. I really can't justify ordering art supplies from the US because I pay shipping, and then on top of that I pay customs, which is 20%, I think. Not to mention that in Austria, every package that goes through customs, which is every package from the US that has a value of over $25, I pay 10 euros just for the handling of it, just for it to go through customs. So that makes the whole process completely not worth it for me, and I'm just, yeah. So if you are in the US, I'm sure you have other options, and that's why I mentioned before that I think this video is mostly useful for people in Europe or maybe other places in the world outside the US. I love this color. I think it's a great alternative to Moonglow. Personally, for me, I will still be buying Moonglow because Aquarius, unfortunately, is not vegan.
Editing Irit here. I just wanted to say that looking at this on the screen for a long time, I do want to acknowledge that the blue granulation in Daniel Smith Moonglow is more visible or brighter than the Aquarius gray shown here. Even though also the Aquarius version contains ultramarine blue, the pigment PB29, which is also in Moonglow. Aquarius have another color called Shadow Violet that has kind of a similar mixture, actually pretty interesting. So if you're considering purchasing one of these, maybe take a look and decide for yourself. So I do think the Moonglow is a little bit more attractive for me personally, but I also think that they are really similar and the price difference is quite substantial, especially in Europe. That's a really good color. It's hard to dupe and more brands should attempt it. Let's all agree on that.
Move on to the next one. This is a good one, and I think this is something we need to address. So one of these is the Daniel Smith Sleeping Beauty Turquoise Genuine, which is, there's no denying, it's a beautiful color. However, in Europe or at Jackson's, it costs $30, a whopping $30 for a 15 milliliter tube. I don't have a tube. I have one half pan that I bought years ago that I wanted to try out because I saw people talking about this color. And yeah, I'm never gonna buy the tube because most brands have a very similar dupe, including Daniel Smith themselves. And another thing I want to mention before I get into the dupes about Sleeping Beauty Turquoise Genuine is that I have seen on Jane Blundell's website, she does her own light fast testing for some paints, and she tested this and it grayed. Now, so the color really faded after, I don't know, it hung on her window, I guess, for a few months. Usually, I don't really care about light fastness. Most of the things that I paint are on sketchbooks, and if I hang something on the wall, I will not hang it in direct sunlight. And if I do hang it on direct sunlight and I really care about the fact that I want it to look in 50 years the same as it does now, I will get like a UV protective glass or something. But still, there's something about spending $30 on a beautiful turquoise paint that might turn gray that really turns me off. So it's a no-no for me. This is the real thing. At Jackson's it costs, I thought, $30 for the 15 milliliter tube, and at Bleak's it's almost $20. So still quite a sum, I would say, for one tube of paint. This is the dupe that I personally have, that I currently use. It's the Schmincke Cobalt Green. The pigment is PB36, and this is not a unique paint for Schmincke. This is something that most brands have. I can't say that they all use the same pigment, but most of them have a color called Cobalt Turquoise or Cobalt Green Turquoise. So this color, the 15 milliliter tube, costs $20. Also here in Europe, and Schmincke is German, so it's a European brand. But cobalts are notoriously expensive pigments, and that still makes it a $10 cheaper than the Daniel Smith tube of Sleeping Beauty. I have to say I prefer the formula of Schmincke. I cannot justify ever buying a tube of this. Now we have this foursome, and I'm pretty sure that some of you have already guessed. This is Daniel Smith Lavender and its dupes. Which dupes are there here? Now things look a bit different on camera, but I think we can reveal. So this one, I've had this tube of paint for a while now. I think that Daniel Smith kind of were inspired to add Lavender and Wisteria to their range by Holbein, that have a color that is almost identical with the same pigments called Lavender, and they have a color called Lilac, which is very similar to Wisteria. We'll get to that in a second. Now, I don't have the Holbein version because I wanted to see how the cheaper version is, and that's Shinhan. So Shinhan is Korean, Holbein is Japanese, and their color range, last time I checked, which was a while ago, but it's very similar. So I don't know what's going on there, if they copied it, if it's a like, I don't know. However, it's incredibly similar, and Shinhan is much cheaper. So tube of 15 milliliters will cost you $7.50, and this is the Lavender. Holbein I checked on Bleak's, and right now that the tube of Lavender costs $10. So that's slightly cheaper than Lavender, but this is one of the colors that I really don't see a reason to buy the Daniel Smith version. These are kind of cheaper pigments, and I don't mean cheap as bad. I mean that just the pigments used for this are on the more affordable scale of pigments. There's nothing super unique here, and I have a tube. I was excited when they came out with new colors. I will not repurchase this, especially since discovering these two dupes, which this one is Van Gogh, This one is Rembrandt. Yeah. The Van Gogh half pan will set you back a little bit more than €1.50. So the prices here are in euros. You can turn them into dollars. It's a little bit more in dollars. But still, a 10 milliliter tube will cost you less than €3. So about $3 for a 10 milliliter tube. Rembrandt, which is the more artist grade or expensive line of watercolors from Royal Talents, have also lavender, and the half pan is about almost 3 times more expensive than the Van Gogh. Half pan will cost you €4.23. The 15 milliliter tube, may notice that it's, no, actually I think it might be even 20 milliliter tubes for Rembrandt, will be, what is this, €8. So that's still cheaper than Daniel Smith, but a lot more expensive than the Van Gogh. I really enjoy the Van Gogh one. The formula is beautiful, it's creamy. I think here in this sample, this one looks a tiny bit more intense. I also want to mention that the tone of this is slightly more purple than the Daniel Smith one. I don't know if the camera captures that. In real life, it's a teeny bit more purple. I don't mind it. I think it's beautiful. It has a beautiful granulation. This is my go-to. I will continue to play with both of these and see if I can tell a difference. I mean, come on, 10 milliliter tube for less than €3. That's a great deal. So this one is like a no-brainer for me. Okay, let's move on to Wisteria and Shinhan Lilac. Which one is which? Which one do you like more? Again, the application can be a little bit different. I tried to get some more intense areas and then some not so intense areas, with partial success in this particular case. But yeah, so here we go. This one is the Daniel Smith. This one is the Shinhan. I have to say, I kind of like, this is, I feel a little bit more alive, just a little bit. However, I like the granulation of the Daniel Smith version a little bit better. Is it worth it for me to spend 3 times more on the Daniel Smith one? I don't think so. I may try, once I'm done with these two, I may try the Holbein version, which is somewhere in between when it comes to the cost. It's not as expensive as Daniel Smith, but it's more expensive than Shinhan. Maybe I'll try that one. I love this color, but again, I don't think I want to spend $17. That's the price for me here in Europe on the Daniel Smith version. Okay, next up, this is not an exact dupe, but I kind of still wanted to show you that if you look around and take like a really close look at some paints, you will find ones that perform really similarly. And if you are on a budget or you use a lot of watercolors, then it might be worth it really to get a cheaper alternative. So here we have, these are not exact dupes. You can see this one is much leaning more brown. This one is kind of leaning more purplish red, but they're both really beautiful earthy colors, and they both have this darker granulation, which is what I really like about them. So this one is the Daniel Smith Hematite Violet, and it costs at Blick's in the US almost $14 and at Jackson's $20. This is the Aquarius Caput Multum, which is also called in Indian Red. Again, Indian Red, I've checked, not all brands use the same pigment for Indian Red. This one in particular is PR 102. Very common pigment. The Hematite Violet Genuine is one of, you know, Daniel Smith kind of special mineral paints. I really like it, but for someone that doesn't use a lot of earthy colors, I don't know if I will. I actually don't have a tube of this. I only have a half pan that I bought years ago. I really like this paint. I don't know if I will buy a tube of it. I feel like I could add a little bit like a earthy ochre or something to warm this up. And this has this beautiful granulation, which is what attracts me to this color. And yeah, this is much, much cheaper. So the full pan will cost you less than $5. Again, you get less paint than you get with a tube, 15 milliliter tube, but still, you could buy two full pans for half the price of a tube of this in Europe. So other brands also make Indian red. It's usually a very, very, very intense color. It's kind of a purplish red earthy color that granulates. So, you know, shop around, check other options. And yeah, if you're on a budget, it's really worth it to make the effort. Look for online samples and swatches and see what you find. Okay, now the Lunar colors are quite unique ones, and I haven't seen good dupes for all of the Lunar colors from Daniel Smith, with the exception of Lunar Black. Several brands offer a very, very granulating black. Again, I don't think it's the same pigment. I don't know. Personally, I don't care. If it behaves in the same way, I'm happy with it. This is the Aquarius Black. And again, other brands also make now a very granulating black. This one costs, yeah, you can see. So at Jackson's, a big tube of Lunar Black will cost you almost $15. At Bleak's, it's $10. Half pan will cost you $4.50. Lunar Black is not a color that I use a lot. I will not be repurchasing the Daniel Smith one. However, Lunar Blue, for example, is a color that I absolutely think is worth getting because I personally haven't found a good dupe for this. Okay, let's move on to the last one. This is a kind of a newer color to me in my range. So one of these is the Daniel Smith Imperial Purple, and the other is an Aquarius dupe. Which one do you like? Actually, looking at them, I like them both. This one has a more intense blue granulation. Ultramarine blue is one of the pigments in this mixture. It's a mixture of two pigments. This one, I think now also looking at the paint it has, I guess, I don't know, the separation maybe is a little bit more pinkish than this one. I'm not sure. It's, you know, it really could be like a fluke, just the way that I applied the paint here. But I think they're both beautiful. I hope this was helpful to you. And yeah, let me know in the comments what you think. Also let me know if you have some other good dupes. I know myself and other viewers would love to know. And I'll see you soon in another watercolor video. Thanks for watching. Bye.